Ball tampering. Ball tampering is when a player illegally messes with the cricket ball to make it swing more than it naturally should. Here's the thing, the ball's condition is everything in cricket. The shiny side, the rough side, the seam, all of this determines how the ball moves through the air. Teams are allowed to maintain the ball using sweat. That's totally legal. But the second you introduce foreign substances or deliberately damage it, that's when you've crossed into cheating territory. We're talking scratching the surface with fingernails, using objects to lift the seam, applying dirt, sugar, sandpaper. Yeah, I said sandpaper. And look, I know what you're thinking. How much difference can a little scratch really make? In the 2018 Newlands test, Australia's Cameron Bancroft used sandpaper on the ball. Just sandpaper. The result? Steve Smith got banned for a year. David Warner, banned for a year. Bancroft, 9 months. The science behind it is actually wild. When one side of the ball is rough and the other is smooth, air moves faster over the smooth side, creating lower pressure. The ball swings toward the rough side. Add artificial roughening? You're basically giving your bowlers a cheat code. Throwing or chucking. Now this one's technical, but stick with me because it's genuinely fascinating. A legal delivery in cricket requires the bowler's arm to remain essentially straight from when it reaches shoulder level until the ball is released. The ICC allows up to 15 degrees of elbow extension. Anything beyond that? You're not bowling anymore, you're throwing. Why does this matter so much? Put yourself in the batter's position for a second. You're facing a bowler running in at full speed. You've got about 0.4 seconds to react to a 140 kilometers per hour delivery. Your entire calculation is based on reading the bowler's arm angle, wrist position, release point. Now imagine someone's chucking it with a bent arm. They can generate extra whip, extra pace, extra turn that you literally cannot predict because it's coming from a movement that shouldn't be possible. Mutia Muralitharan, the highest wicket taker in international cricket, with 1,347 wickets across all formats, had his action questioned throughout his career. Multiple tests, multiple controversies. The thing is, he had a congenital defect that meant he physically couldn't fully straighten his arm. Biomechanical testing eventually cleared him, but it took years and created this massive debate about where the line actually is. But before the 15-degree rule was standardized in 2004, different studies found that nearly 99% of bowlers exceeded the old stricter limits during their delivery stride. The ICC basically had to redraw the line because almost everyone was technically illegal. Time wasting. Time wasting includes batters faffing about between deliveries, fielders taking scenic routes to retrieve the ball, captains having team meetings every other over. There are over-rate requirements. Teams must bowl a minimum number of overs per hour. In tests, it's currently 15 overs per hour. Fall behind, you get fined. Keep falling behind, the captain gets banned. During the 2023 Ashes, both England and Australia copped heavy fines for slow over rates. England was docked 19 World Test Championship points across the series. That's massive when you're trying to qualify for the final. The match fee fines were brutal too. But wait, it gets worse in limited overs. In one-day internationals and T20s, falling behind on over rate can actually restrict your field placements. You could be defending 15 runs in the final over, and because your team was too slow earlier, you're only allowed 4 fielders outside the circle instead of 5. That's a tangible disadvantage that can literally cost you the match. Obstructing the field. A batter cannot interfere with fielders trying to make a play. Body, bat, movement. If it's deliberate obstruction, you're out. The key word there is deliberate. Remember the 2023 Ashes? Johnny Bairstow got stumped at Lord's after walking out of his crease assuming the ball was dead. Alex Carey whipped the bails off. Technically legal, massively controversial, nearly started a diplomatic incident. But actual obstruction? That's different. The most famous case is probably Inzamam ul Haq in 2006 against India. Ball was heading toward the stumps. Inzamam swatted it away with his bat while running, obstructing the field. Gone. No debate, no appeal, just out. And in 2015, Ben Stokes was given out obstructing the field against Australia at Lord's. He raised his hand to protect himself from a throw, but the ball hit his hand and deflected away from the stumps. The Australians appealed. The umpire raised the finger. Stokes was furious, but the law was clear. You can't use your hand to stop the ball hitting the wicket. Handling the ball. Now, this one barely exists anymore in its original form, but the history is fascinating. Batters cannot touch the ball with their hands during play, except to protect themselves from injury. No picking it up, no stopping it rolling, nothing. As of 2017, handled the ball as a separate dismissal method was merged into obstructing the field. But before that merge, only 7 players in Test history were ever given out this way. 7. In over 140 years of Test cricket. Michael Vaughan got out handled ball in 2001 against India. The ball was spinning back toward his stumps. He instinctively palmed it away. If you're enjoying the video so far, take a second to subscribe. It really helps the algorithm push this video to more people who love cricket, and it lets me keep making videos like this. Dangerous and unfair bowling. Now listen, bouncers are legitimate. They've been part of cricket forever. But there are limits. In tests, there's no strict numerical limit, but umpires can warn bowlers for intimidatory bowling. In one-day internationals, you get 2 bouncers per over maximum. In T20 internationals under ICC rules, it's actually just 1 bouncer per over. Go over that limit? The extra bouncer is called a no ball, and in limited overs cricket, that means a free hit. In high-pressure situations, that's potentially match-changing. But in November 2014, Philip Hughes was struck on the neck by a bouncer during a Sheffield Shield match. He died 2 days later. He was 25 years old, had played 26 tests for Australia, averaged 32.65. After that tragedy, cricket changed. Helmet technology improved. Neck guards became standard. The conversation around bouncer limits intensified. Running on the pitch. Players cannot run on the central strip unnecessarily. This especially applies to bowlers following through into the protected area, the danger zone that's marked on the pitch. Why is this such a big deal? The protected area exists primarily to keep the batting surface fair. If bowlers are constantly running through and creating rough patches in certain areas, it changes how the ball behaves when it pitches there. That can make batting unreasonably difficult, not because of natural pitch deterioration, but because someone's boots have torn it up. Bowlers who repeatedly run on the pitch get warned twice, then they're removed from the attack. They can't bowl again that innings. During the 2021 World Test Championship final, Kyle Jamieson received a warning for running on the pitch. One more offense and New Zealand would have lost their best bowler mid-spell. Fake fielding. This one's relatively new to the rulebook, only properly codified in 2017. Fake fielding is when a fielder pretends to have the ball or makes deceptive movements to trick the batters. No physical contact needed, just the illusion of a play that isn't happening. The penalty? 5 runs added to the batting side's total. One of the first notable instances came in Australian domestic cricket when Marnus Labuschagne was involved in a fake fielding incident that resulted in penalty runs. The rule was brand new, and suddenly everyone realized they needed to be careful about those casual fake throws they'd been doing for years. Think about this from the batter's perspective. You're running between wickets, you see a fielder wind up to throw, you dive to make your ground, and nothing. There was no throw, but maybe you've injured yourself diving. Maybe you've short run and lost runs you should have had. Verbal abuse. Here's where cricket's gentlemanly reputation meets reality. Sledging, verbal banter between players, is technically part of the game. Always has been, but there's a line, and crossing it brings penalties. The ICC Code of Conduct has 4 levels of offense. Level 1 might be a fine. Level 4? Bans ranging from tests to years. In 2008, Harbhajan Singh was initially banned for 3 tests after allegedly calling Andrew Symonds a monkey during a Sydney Test match. The ban was later overturned on appeal, but the controversy defined that entire series. More recently, in 2022, England's Johnny Bairstow and Australia's Cameron Green had a heated exchange during an Ashes test that resulted in demerit points for both players. The line between competitive banter and abuse is genuinely blurry, But racial slurs, threats, personal attacks about family, that's always over the line. Deliberate distraction. Fielders and wicket-keepers cannot intentionally distract the batter during a delivery. This includes sudden movements, noises, or gestures timed to break concentration. The penalty? Dead ball and potentially 5 penalty runs. Now here's the thing. The deliberately part is crucial. A fielder moving to get into position? Fine. A wicketkeeper adjusting their stance? Normal. But jumping up and waving your arms as the bowler delivers? That's a dead ball. In domestic cricket, there have been instances of fielders being penalized for clapping loudly or making sudden movements behind the batter just as the ball was delivered. Dead ball, warning issued, and if it continues, penalty runs. If this helped you understand why cricket takes these rules so seriously, hit that like button. Subscribe for more Cricket Explained Simply. Check out these 2 videos that are popping on your screen. Thanks for watching.